On the menu today, Queens and an Amiga versus iMac rematch with some surprising twists. Now let's get cooking. That's a good one. Oh, hello Chip Dippers. Welcome to Retro Recipes. Now in that recent video, we pitted the Amiga 500 against the MacBook to see who would win at chess. She's not that smart, really. I was playing her at chess the other day and I beat her 3 games out of 5. But in our video, the Mac won the first game.
Checkmate.
But then, incredibly, the Amiga won the second and the third game.
Oh, dang.
Wow. With the Mac winning the fourth and bringing things to a draw. By the way, that was my fastest growing video ever. I know, it was cool, right? You guys left some really lovely comments. Sounds like Dave had a great time. I wonder what his channel's like. Well, anyway, a lot of the other comments that I received said, do the test again, but this time use an Amiga emulator set to the fastest possible speed. That way it won't bore us all and take 4 days to just move one piece. Well, to be fair, I didn't do that to begin with because I would have then got complaints in the comments saying you cheated by using an emulator. But I think now that we've actually done it the right way with the real machine, it would be fair to run that test again in that way. So let's do that. And if you've forgotten the rules, don't worry, you're allowed to check. All right, let's start the tournament. Oh, come on, how are her jokes better than mine? Come on.
Welcome.
So this time, instead of Ladyfractic's Frackbook, we're going to use a new iMac. I'll be doing a video about how I got it to look like this very soon, so stay tuned. And inside it, doing the work for both the Mac and the Amiga, is a 3.6 gigahertz Intel Core i9 processor. It's impossible to work out just how much faster this really is than the Amiga's Motorola 68000, much though we tried. But estimates seem to be in the 2,000 to 4,000 times faster range. And for the Amiga, we're using UAE, the Universal Amiga Emulator, for the Mac. So let's change these 3 settings. Now the JIT compiler stands for just in time, and a simple way to think about this is that instead of trying to emulate the Amiga's Motorola processor, it compiles the code and processes it using machine code in the Intel processor instead. In theory, this means the Amiga will run almost exactly as fast as the Mac. We can also toggle warp mode on and off for blistering speed, although this will prevent the audio from working while we do. For the first of the 2 games, I'm going to use Stockfish Chess on the Mac, so named because one of the creators is from Norway, known for its stockfish exports. And here at Retro Recipes, we just love fish and chips. And this is just about the smartest chess engine out there, and we'll set it to its highest skill level, where it claims it can beat any chess master, maybe even Chessmaster 2000.
I am the chess master.
Kinda looks like he sounds. But we'll kick things off with Battle Chess on the Amiga. A few of you said that on its highest skill level, it's actually pretty darn good. But the big thing to remember here is we're not comparing ELO skill ratings or processor speed anymore. We're just comparing the quality of the programming of the chess engines in the software. And to see if the Amiga really is like the old guy in the park who knows a few tricks that the younger software doesn't. But there's only one way to find out. Fight! So both engines are set to their highest skill levels, with Amiga playing from the bottom and the Mac playing from the top down. Now, as the Amiga is the underdog, this does give it a 54% advantage, but I think we can allow it that. Now watch as I hit go on Stockfish. You can see it thinking through the thought tree of all the possible future moves that this game could take, and it'll keep changing its mind as it discovers better moves. And as these machines can still take up to 10 minutes per move, I will keep skipping ahead to save you getting chess bored. Now it moved its pawn to e6, but interestingly it then shows what it thinks the Amiga should do next. This will be really useful for comparing the AI. And the Mac thinks the Amiga should move its pawn to there, but instead the Amiga moves its knight. So we'll mirror that in Stockfish, which I'll always keep up in the corner here, so you can watch it thinking for both sides. Now it thinks the Amiga should retaliate by... keeps changing its mind, but it settles on the pawn, and actually the Amiga follows suit. Now this might be explained by the fact that the Amiga is using a 30,000 move opening move database, and this is taken from chess championships, so the Amiga's not actually thinking at this point. But any moment now it will have to start thinking because, well, the moves just become too random for any database. And the Amiga takes first blood. Poor little pawn. So now let's really skip things ahead and show both computers' moves on the slightly more entertaining Amiga's board. But feel free to keep an eye on the Mac's suggestions in the corner. Wait a minute, this doesn't look good for the Amiga. Now, I'll always be honest, I really wanted the Amiga to win, in part because it's just so fun. And in a second we'll look at some of the other battle chess moves that didn't come up in this game. PCBWay are absolutely terrible at making chessboards, but if you need some PCBs, we recommend PCBWay! Because as we all know, PCB stands for
Printed Circuit.
Pixelated Chess Battles. Told you. Hey babe,
Yeah?
bad news.
What?
The Mac got checkmate.
It's okay, you can keep playing after checkmate.
But the Mac got checkmate.
Alright, mate, just keep going.
No, not checkmate. Checkmate. The Mac won.
Oh, sorry.
What are you writing here anyway? But the truth is, the Amiga just didn't play a good game at all. I don't think Battle Chess really deserves the high skill rating that it had. However, the Chess Master 2000 really does. I'm pretty sure it's the most skilled chess game on the Amiga. Speaking of chess masters, I was actually having dinner with a chess master the other day in the Retro Recipes kitchen, but it took him 8 minutes to pass the salt.
I am the chess master.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll set you to the highest skill level. And the Amiga moves its pawn.
You're a noob.
Let's see what the Mac does. And the Mac moves its pawn as well. Now that was really interesting. Let's watch that again. The Amiga moves its knight before the Mac even decides that that is the best move, so somehow the Amiga got there first, perhaps using that opening move database.
You're a noob. You're a noob.
This time the Amiga disagrees.
Oops, you got me.
Now the Mac thinks the Amiga should take the pawn with the knight,
Gotcha.
and it does. The Mac thinks the Amiga should move that knight, and it does.
You're a noob.
And this time the Amiga disagrees again. And the Amiga agrees.
You're a noob.
Once again, the Amiga agrees. Now, I'm not going to keep going on about that, but I do think it's fascinating that after over 30 years, these two programs are essentially thinking the same. And we can actually watch them both thinking here.
You're a noob.
Again, the Amiga agrees. Okay, I won't keep going on about it.
Gotcha.
What we can do though is overlay both boards. That way you can actually watch the Mac's suggestion arrow and watch the Amiga play all on the same board. So I'll step back as we enjoy another game of retro chess piece. Sorry.
You're a noob. You're a noob. Oops, you got me. You're a noob. You're a noob. Oops, you got me. Gotcha. You're a noob. Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's interesting to see the Amiga has captured more pieces than the Mac, although this isn't necessarily a precursor of who's winning,
Oops, you got me.
as you can see. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with your video. At this point, the Mac legitimately crashed.
I am the chess master.
But luckily, Chessmaster has an option where you can set up the board, and the Mac had saved its game, so I was able to get the game back up and running. I was worried for a minute though.
Oops, you got me. You're a noob. You got me. Gotcha. I am in check.
Alright, the Mac has the Amiga in check. And for this next move, the Mac can't seem to make up its mind.
You're a mood. 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 I am in check.
Oh, check again to the Mac. The Amiga has no choice but to move its king out of the way.
You're a mood. Oops, you got me. You're a mood. I am in check.
And check once again.
I am in check.
And check again. It's not looking too good. Ah, and the Amiga loses his knight. Good night.
Oops, you got me.
Things are getting tense now. The Mac is really setting up its final attack.
You're a mood.
Can the Amiga salvage it?
Oops.
No. Wow, White resigns. Oh well, let's see why that might have happened by playing out the rest of the game on the Mac. Well, I'm disappointed the Amiga didn't win, but kudos to it for predicting the end of the game and knowing that it was beat. That makes it a winner in my heart. So the score for this match is 2-0 to the Mac. But why was that? Well, we took processor speed out of the equation, which leaves only more efficient techniques that ignore unlikely branches of the thought tree, and smarter AI taught by machine learning. But as I say all that, I can't help but linger on what a strong game Chessmaster 2000 really played. With over 30 years over the Amiga, I guess I'd have expected the Mac to beat it as fast as it beat Battle Chess. But instead, Chessmaster mirrored many of the moves that the Mac suggested as well. I don't know. What do you think? Either way, I can say one thing for sure. Even though the Mac is clearly stronger, why do I still prefer the Amiga? Well, thanks for watching, subscribe below, and cheerio. Sit. Okay, sit. Good. Wait. High five.